Good morning from Montana. Good morning from wherever you are in this world. I'm so glad that you're joining me. It's Sunday, September 29th, and this is the weekly video. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a brief update on how the flares are doing because they've been really weird and quiet, still quiet. And then I want to take you into some new challenges just because that's what we need to do today, on stabilization and who we are and what's working and what we can do. Okay. And I've got 5 tips for you, and I like the tips. They're different, and they're similar to what I usually do, and they're different. So let's just hang in there and see where we go. So let's start off first with um, the update on the solar flares. Last week the biggest solar flare we had was last Sunday, just during our video, which I think was an M. Let's see, was an M3.7, right? And so we've had 5 M1s during the week. And then we've had, I think the highest C was a C6. So we had a C3 and a C6. So, we've had steady flares every single day. And there's an app on spaceweather.com that helps me track the flares. And then I can go to an overview for the month and see what the highest flare was that day. So the highest flare we've had since last Sunday was M3. And what that means is that they're steady, right? Again, the tap, tap, tap of the C's and those bursts of changes that come with the M's. So it's like M, tap, tap, M, tap, M, tap. And so what we're doing is we're slowly, steadily, with pressure being applied to us, definitely pressure, making sure that we're present to everything around us, all the conditioning, everything that's working with us, for us, that is what's being. I need to put my notes in a different place. Sorry. That's what we're being tapped on. Is it's time to do something to just stay present, right? Because we're learning to attune, and we're learning to tune to how we feel, what our needs are, and we're creating this sense of stability while things are amping up. And they are amping up because, remember, we're in the middle between 2 eclipses. We had the lunar eclipse at the new moon, or at the full moon, and now we're going to the solar eclipse on the 2nd, on Tuesday, or Wednesday. It's weird. I'm having a hard time finding words today. It's very interesting. We have the solar eclipse on Wednesday, and we have a new moon as well. So we're sort of adapting, and we're moving in between. And there's been, this continual event of what I talked about 3 weeks ago, which is Pluto and Capricorn going down to 29 degrees, holding us until October 11th, and then bringing us back out. And that, go back and watch that video if you really want to have an idea of, we're still on the deep dive. We're still on the deep dive, and I'm going to go through what we are actually weaving together, as far as information, as far as energy, as far as what's going on out there. Why am I seeing things in the news escalating? Why am I feeling like more decisions coming my way? What is it that I can do, right? Okay, so as Pluto is still in Capricorn, in that 29 degrees, because remember, Capricorn is about growing. It's about growing up, really. It's about maturing into who you are and what you're here to be, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's like we're having Saturn return after Saturn return, hour by hour by hour, because what we're looking at is, how do we become who we want to be, who we agreed to be, what our purpose is on this planet. And it seems to me that it's all just sort of crunching in and getting us ready to release us into a 20-year period of time where Pluto's in Aquarius, where all of our resources, all of our ability to create the support systems around us are starting to open up into Aquarius. So this last bit of Capricorn is hard. Now, I'm going to add one more to the mix. So just buckle up, sit down. You might want to watch this a couple times, because what I want to talk about is that on September 4th, and I missed this one, I didn't really put it down as anything important to sort of play off of until Astro Butterfly started to I got an article yesterday and this morning, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I have to bring this to you. I have to talk to you about this. Okay. So Mars went into Cancer on September 4th, and it's going to stay there for 6 months. It usually only stays there for about 2 months, right? But it's going in and out a couple times, but it's really hanging out in Cancer. Now, why does that even matter? Well, the more interesting thing is that Mars in Cancer is going to be the direct opposite of Pluto in Capricorn. So you've got this deep dive, right? And then so here's the deep dive that we've been talking about, right? And then you have this Mars energy, this fire in Cancer, which is water, right? And Capricorn and Cancer are both cardinal signs. They're leadership. So we have this like pressure in about early November. This is going to peak, and then it's just going to keep hanging in and going and going and going. So what this is going to do is it's going to help us put into perspective that Mars is going to throw a whole lot of judgment, power, action onto this event. That means that these two, as they're pulling against each other, are it's going to activate that Pluto at 29 even more. So the addition of Mars, which is fire, and in Cancer, which is the chariot. So in some ways, it means that you're holding stable all of this energy. You haven't really started to move yet. You're just gathering momentum, and you can see all the reverberations of this disc with this golden warrior holding it, and it reverberates around. Now, this is a very masterful way to hold Cancer, to hold our emotions, to hold our energy, to hold energy in motion, even when Mars is like humming on it. And so, what that does in the Osho deck is it starts to allow us to sort of break out and open into who we are in our inner self, right? And I love the light seers with this chariot card, which is it gives you momentum, it gives you willpower, it gives you action to just start moving. And so you've got this fire of Mars fueling you towards a direction where you're going to go explore all of these things that you need to let go of. So when I put these three together, this draws a picture of what's going to happen. So we have all this shit that's been layered on us throughout decades, throughout our lifetime, throughout lifetimes, throughout the history of the human race, of conditioning, programming, and imprinting that we have bought into and we're holding on to. So then Mars comes along, then Pluto comes along. Move it over here. Here comes Pluto. And Pluto starts cutting away, saying, what do you have to get rid of? What do you have to let go of as we're doing this? This is where we've been since September 1st. Now we're going to put this Mars in the chariot, and it's just going to keep hitting this and hitting this and hitting this and saying, go forward, get this stuff off of you, move. Because that's what we're feeling. And so, what we're doing is we're doing this deep dive into let's see, unprocessed dynamics from our childhood, because Cancer is also a mom in the hearth. Cancer is like how we nurture, how we self-take care. Cancer is how we offer emotional security, how we deal with our beautiful predominant leadership energy in our emotions, right? it's gonna throw some heat onto our relationship patterns. It's going to throw some heat on our career paths. It's going to throw some heat on our on our belief systems. And these eclipses are just stirring it all up, right? So it's dramatic and it's intense. And so we have these double pushes coming in that are going to make things really, really hard between now and just before our American Thanksgiving, right? So what we're doing is we're looking at, how do I feel, how do I think, and how do I act? Because what we're doing is we're learning how to care for ourselves on a much different level. We're learning how to notice and feel when shifts are happening. We're learning how to do self-care and nurturing on a much deeper level. Um, we're accessing some courage, which is like, wow, I have some courage to just ride this thing and be just in the moment, conscious, navigating, and in trust and nurturing myself. Like, I'm going to stay up here. I'm going to stay safe. Now, wanted to add one more thing, which is when Mars is involved. Mars is our right shoulder. It's our on the tree of life. It's in Gebra. It's action, momentum. It's where our fierceness comes in. It's also where our ability to take action and move. And so it's our willpower, right? And within the cards, this is what happens when Mars comes in. So Mars within the um thought deck is strife. It's when something really big just starts blocking and you just can't get the action going. And then when you go into the light seers, it's like we're building something together with these wands. It's 5 of Wands, change, dramatic change, but we're just not really collaborating very well together. We're all doing our own thing. Or what I love is the Osho, which is this totality. Like, you have to stay present, you have to stay fully conscious, because this is a interesting time to navigate. And what I love is in his book, he says, with this, you can't afford to be even a little bit absent. So you stay present and you hold and you bring in this, how did I write it? Gradual, beautiful shifting of consciousness, of presence, of empowerment into your world, because that's what we're doing right now as we have both the explore where we're being stuck, where our patterns are being fleshed out, and how to do this with action and nurturing. And so that means what we're stabilizing both. We're doing the deep work. We're like, it's almost like when you want to go into the ocean and it's cold, you take a step and you're like, and the waves are hitting you, so you get your balance, you go a little deeper, and you go a little deeper. To me, that's what it feels like we're doing, because this is an intense time. This is an intense time between now and November 19th, um, for all of us, and it's also really doable. Okay, so I have 5 tips for you. And before I go to the tips, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the patronage. Thank you for the love that you send me down the messages on the side, in the comments. The messages on the side don't end up staying very much onto the video, but if you put comments down below, then I can respond and chat with you throughout the week, and I love doing that. So also let me know how I can be of service, whether it is to meet with you on a one-on-one, to do some clarity with tarot, whatever might work for you. You've gotten to know me now through these videos, so if I can be of service, please let me know. Okay, so 5 tips. The first one, I think the first one I would say, it's right here, is note the dates. Write these things down. You know, when when I say that we're going into Pluto through Pluto's in Capricorn until November 19th, and that it's going to peak. It's not going to go, it's retrograde, it's going backwards. It's going to go direct on October 11th. So we're still doing this dive through the eclipses, through the moons, until we get here to October 11th. And then we're going to start building ourselves back out. So when we mark those dates, September 4th for this Cancer push is going to end on April 28th, 2025. But it's really going to peak somewhere about the first or second week of November, right? So just mark these dates down. So when you're feeling something, or you can even on a calendar, what's the biggest solar flare today? And mark it down. Then you start to collect data that puts your experiences into perspective for you. And it gives you an opportunity to start building a different kind of awareness, right? So tip number 1 is mark the dates and track them. Because if you're not tracking them, then you're not understanding where they've shifted or affected you, right? Number 2, use this Cancer, where is it? Use this Cancer Mars energy do that deep dive into nurturing self, being supportive, being the hearth, being the person, place, and thing that you can go to for yourself to help protect and guide you through this. Start with yourself first before you go to others. So use this Mars energy, use this intention of action, which is, well, I've been listening to Denise, but I haven't really done what we've been talking about. It's like, start to use it, because I can guarantee you, when you put the action behind it, it starts to just blossom so much bigger. Okay. Number 3, manage your mind, right? Because form follows thought. So when our mind, our thoughts, our fears, our assumptions, they start picking us up and saying, oh, my husband's looking like he's going to leave me, or I should leave this job, I should leave this job right now. We don't know if that's coming from our heart, in our gut, in our intuitive knowing, and we're following the path of where we're being led, or if we're in that clenched fear. If we don't manage our mind, we don't know which one it is, right? So when we manage our mind, our observer is watching all the time, and it brings this level of presence and consciousness into us, because our mind is going to, our observer, we're going to notice, we're going to pick things up, and one of the tools we talked about earlier was just going like, no, shh, I'm not listening to you right now. That's not where I want to go. You have been giving me little flash warnings that are old emotional patterns that came from my childhood, that are hitting some of my trauma points. They're not real. Shh. I'm handling this now. I have a very good idea where this comes from, and now I'm doing this differently. Because what we want to do is we want to start putting into form on this earth, in our life, the things we want to do from our field, from our fire and water, rather than from our mind that's doing repetitive patterns, right? Makes sense. Number 4, continue to build and refine your physical management. That means hydration, that means rest, that means lightening your schedule. We're not talking about this is a once and done. We're in the long run. We're going through to November, and my guess is that between the Pluto between Pluto and Capricorn, between November, between the holidays, between the elections in the US, between the global stuff that's going on, we are going to need to physically stabilize ourselves as much as possible, so that we could consciously watch it go by. Like, there's been that term, get your popcorn and just watch it. You can do that when you come from a place of stability and you're not in reaction all the time to what's going on. So you hydrate, you stay stable, you restabilize. Whoa, I tipped on that one and came back up. I've tipped 2 or 3 times this week, and it hasn't even been a hard week for considering some of the other energetics or personal things going on. But I've tipped over and then went, wow, look at that. Now let's get back up here and restabilize. Okay. Number 5, last one. Stay open in compassion. The reason we have to stay in compassion is that we're all doing our own internal childhood conditioning, cutting loose, moving ourselves forward. We're all doing this at our own pace, at our own time, right? Now, there's one piece that I talked about a long time ago, and I've done this over the years, which is, imagine a teeter-totter. If you are in judgment, if you are just nitpicking somebody apart with your eyes or your energy, it's tipped. And the way to counterbalance that is to bring in compassion. So you bring in compassion to stabilize it. So compassion is the one key tool. Compassion, oh man, I tipped. No judgment, just bring it back. Compassion, oh, that person looks like they're in a lot of pain right now. Oh, I wonder what's going on with them. We have to stay in compassion, because that is what is going to help us. Okay. So bring this to a close. Put your comments, remarks if you want. Oh, one last thing. There is the discussion on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The link for it is down below. It's $8. There's sometimes 2 to 4 of us. I'd love to have about 10 or 12 and really get this discussion really going. So if you can make it at that time, please come join us, and leave your remarks and pass this around if you think it's helpful. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.